I do have a brief question. I belong to the San Diego Continuing Education, and I take the free classes, the Emeriti classes for seniors. And they are now going to add another dimension to our getting emails. They want us to download Microsoft and use Outlook and create a new account. I'm a Mac user and I'm reluctant to want to do that. Can I have any feedback from anyone about adding another thing to my Apple network or Microsoft Outlook? Is it safe, not safe? That kind of stuff.
Why is it that they want you to change your end?
I agree with
It's just an email.
100%.
It's just an email.
Right. And they want to give us an EDU address.
They want you to use an
Yep,
email address at their domain.
correct.
Yeah, I think that's pushing it. I'd push back.
I have, trust me, I've pushed back and I said, I don't care to do this. Why is this happening? What can be done? And you are an educational system. Can you not work with Mac? Also,
It's not a matter of platform. It's like,
Right.
why can't they use your email address that you register with? And it doesn't have to be on their domain.
I don't know.
I think the main reason I've been getting a lot of that on both at work and here at home, because I have a Mac plus Windows, and I do use Outlook at work, but I'm ignoring it. I get those emails all the time because I myself don't use Outlook enough to be happy with it. But I think they're just trying to get you to use Edge and get onto their system.
Well, I'll jump in on that if you don't mind. Sharon, as Mary was trying to point out the other day, that the district is requiring them to communicate via Outlook. It's not a matter of whether you want to do it or not. That's just the way they're going to send it out. So if you want to transfer that to your email, that's okay. I mean, they're waiting on direction right now because there's a lot of pushback to that. But basically, their boss has said you're going to use Outlook for any communication with students. So if you don't have Canvas and you don't have Outlook, then you don't get their communications. But she's fighting that, so give it some time. They may push back.
Okay, thanks, Willie. Yeah, because I don't have Outlook and didn't have a desire to put it on my computer.
Yeah, I've never had an Outlook account either.
Yeah, and I wasn't in Mary's class, so thanks.
I think that's a very bad policy and deserves all the pushback we can generate because I know that with the different clients I have with Walkabout and other organizations, if they have problems, I can't tell them to change their system to meet my requirements. I think that deserves a lot of pushback on that policy.
Well, if it's just an email, who really cares? I have Outlook here, there, and everywhere. So, but it's not my main one. My main one comes through Safari, but I do have Outlook on my phone. Actually, I started out putting Hotmail on my phone. I wanted a second Hotmail because the first one was getting overloaded. So I had created the second Hotmail, but the second Hotmail I couldn't do as Hotmail. I had to do as Outlook. It's no big deal.
Willie's point is that Willie's point is though that if you're working with a group and they're insisting that you do that, you don't have much choice. But I agree. I think that's a little invasive. It should not be a requirement.
Yes, and Pat, I don't think it's just a matter of quote Outlook or having an account at Outlook. It's that the equivalent would be with this group here, that you could only communicate with this group, the seniors computer group, if everybody got a seniors computer group email address.
Right. Yeah.
And you'd have to do that with every entity, get their email address on their domain. That to me is absurd.
Well, these classes are all free, so I don't really care.
That doesn't
Good for
matter.
you, Pat.
You're right. And that doesn't matter to me. Free or not, I have a right.
Well, their point of view, to bring it up, if we're still talking about it here, their point of view is a security issue. Okay, they kind of went to a Microsoft world with Outlook and all their calendars and stuff like that are all because they want to keep it internal to their system. And Outlook's part of that Microsoft system. They have with your account, you get a Office 365 free subscription with 1 terabyte hard drive. You have a calendar function, and all their calendars, all their classes are put into their calendar. And obviously you can transfer, or whatever you want to call that, port it to your own emails and whatnot. You also have a Canvas account, which is where they do all their main communications through Canvas. So if you don't know how to use Canvas, there's email on the Canvas, there's communications. Every link that the teacher's supposed to put it in is it's supposed to be in Canvas. So I mean, it's their own little world, but
Yeah, I do use Canvas.
yeah. So I mean, all those communications I was just talking about will be on Canvas. But if you want to get an email, it's got to be through Outlook.
It's strange because I do tutoring at basic college, and so I'm in the community college district. They give me a district email, that's fine, but almost every place I can also give them an alternate email, and it goes there as well. And also, even with a district email, you can use whatever client you want to go and get that.
All right, everyone, it's 8:37 here in Hawaii, so it's about time to start our program. I will mute all. And then start the video. Whoops, no, I won't. There we go.
You're watching a video on YouTube, then you head to Amazon to buy your grandma's birthday present. This internet browsing is taking place on a level of the internet called the surface web. But beneath it are many more layers of the internet in what's known as the deep web. At the top of these layers are websites that can be accessed but can't be found by doing a simple search on Google or Bing. Think online banking and government databases, pages that are password encrypted. But what if you keep going down? All the way to the bottom of the deep web. Well, here you'll find the dark web. Here, users can communicate through encrypted messages and can buy and sell anything with total anonymity. It's been called the Wild West of the internet because operating in the shadows are extremists, criminals, and trolls. But where did the dark web come from? And how does it work? Firstly, the dark web is not a place, but a term that describes parts of the internet that hide your identity and location. The dark web's infrastructure was created in the 1970s at the same time as the internet itself, but to utilize it, you needed darknet software. Enter the US Naval Research Lab, who created back in the early 2000s one of the first and still the most popular darknet software, Tor. It was created for a number of reasons, which included providing the US Navy's intelligence officers with the means to maneuver through the internet without being recognized or traced. But to really give you an understanding of
It froze.
Yeah, I
I
think-
think Hank got kicked out. He'll be back.
Yeah, we're getting used to Hank bouncing right in and out.
Hold on, you're. I think you lost the video. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I'm backing up a little bit. And I will try again. Let's see if I have gone back far enough. All right, starting at the about the Navy's setting up tour. Here we go.
It was created for a number of reasons, which include
You're muted, Hank.
I gather I got bumped off again. The screen sharing stopped.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, I'm sharing again, but it has stopped. I'm going to back up again to about here. So you can see that now. Somebody say yes?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, here we go.
it was created for a number of reasons, which included providing the US Navy's intelligence officers with the means to maneuver through the internet without being recognized or traced.
Maybe we can just have the link and look at it later.
Well, or if Hank could send the link to Saul or someone that he could play it, that
That's true.
That would be fine. We'll wait till he comes back.
Thanks, Saul.
Maybe the Navy doesn't like this being shared.
Oh, now no conspiracy theories here.
So somebody said that getting kicked off is not a function of your internet connection speed.
That's
I guess I
probably
don't understand
correct.
that. Why is that? I would think that it,
Why do you think it is?
well, because if you have a good connection speed, you should be able to have a good connection.
What would you classify as good?
Oh, probably more than 10. Better.
So
like
Zoom
30, 40,
requires
50.
2.5.
Pardon?
Zoom requires 2.5. I think 1.5 or 2.5. It's very low.
Yeah, well, Hank says he gets 50, 80, something like that.
So it's not a matter of speed.
it's a
What
matter
would
of
it be a matter of?
It's a matter of-
Glitches.
maintaining the connection.
This is a very complex system, Will. It's amazing it works at all.
You're right.
When you think of all of the different computers that are now being shown on our screen here, there's a lot of connections that are being fused at some place and then beamed out to us.
Okay, I think maybe Saul, could you go to YouTube and put in dark web in the search and see if you can pull up that video? It says CNBC Explained is the subtitle.
Would you be able to just post the URL for the
Yeah.
YouTube video in the chat? I know Willie's posted one, but I don't know if it's the same one.
Should be.
Hold on, let me go find it.
I watched a little bit of it and the guy's walking down the stairway, so
Yeah,
Should be
if
pretty
if he's walking down the stairway, then that's it.
should be.
Okay, I'll get it up in a moment. Just hang on.
It ends up in 9UN4.
Yes, that's the same link that Willie posted.
Man, aren't we good? That we can wing it like this when something goes wrong?
Yeah, and it didn't even have to go to the dark web to find it.
No.
Willie already has it up. Can't he just share it?
I just sent the link. Somebody else can organize it.
Well, the thing is, Willie got the link, but we don't know where he got it from.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
I haven't investigated the dark web yet, but I'm interested.
I did download Tor. I do have Tor, but I haven't played with it enough.
To me, Tor is a publisher of science fiction books.
Well, this seems to be of interest. We got 22 people here today, which is more than average bear.
And by my count, there's about a half of them that look to be dark.
You don't want to watch me eat.
That's it.
This internet browsing is taking place on the web. Well, miss criminals and trolls. But where did the dark web come from? And how does it work?
Firstly, the dark web is not a place, but a term that describes parts of the internet that hide your identity and location. The dark web's infrastructure was created in the 1970s, at the same time as the internet itself, but to utilize it, you needed darknet software. Enter the US Naval Research Lab, who created back in the early 2000s one of the first and still the most popular darknet software, Tor. It was created for a number of reasons, which included providing the US Navy's intelligence officers with the means to maneuver through the internet without being recognized or traced.
But to really give you an understanding of what the dark web is like, we need to explore it firsthand. So I've downloaded Tor, which looks like a normal web browser and seems to behave like one too.
I can visit any site I like, but unlike normal web browsers which would register my IP address straight away, the Tor browser bounces my request to enter the site via several computers around the world, encrypting and decrypting my identification as it goes, so that no one knows where the request has come from.
Now that I'm browsing the internet anonymously, certain websites have become accessible. Websites like the infamous Silk Road.
The Silk Road was one of the first online black markets where you could buy drugs, guns and child pornography. 2 years after starting the site, the founder, Ross Ulbricht, was arrested in 2013 and sentenced to life in prison for money laundering, drug trafficking, hacking and fraud. This was quickly followed by a shutdown of its successor, Silk Road 2.0, along with similar sites such as Project Black Flag and Black Market Reloaded. There are even reports that the FBI has hacked into Tor itself, which subsequently saw the browser's usage drop by nearly 50%. This all gives the impression that the authorities are fighting back, but closing down one or two online markets has simply cleared the way for its competitors. If you didn't want to use the Tor browser, there's I2P or Freenet. Instead of Silk Road 2.0, there's now Dream, Agora or Alphabet, and they all provide the same services. The dark web, however, is not just an eBay for illegal purchases. It's also used by radical extremists to communicate and spread propaganda. But not all activity going on down in the dark web is illegal. Tor, for instance, receives 60% of its backing from the US State Department and the Department of Defense to act as a secure network for both government agencies and political dissidents fighting oppressive regimes. Over the past decade, the dark web has empowered activists to spread news during the Arab Spring and encourage whistleblowers to release information. The dark web as a tool to help journalists uncover the truth was made popular by WikiLeaks. Now, news organisations such as the New York Times and The Guardian all host dark web drop sites for uploading anonymously leaked tips and documents. It's also helped domestic violence victims hide from online stalkers and allowed ordinary citizens to surf the web without being tracked by advertisers or even the government. Which leaves us with a great dilemma.
If the authorities try and succeed in shutting down the dark web and the criminal activity that it supports, they'll also be adversely affecting all the people that use it for social benefit.
The question remains whether internet freedom and privacy, for legitimate and sometimes life-saving reasons, are worth protecting while this vast criminal underworld operates alongside it, inside the dark web.
Still watching? Perfect. Click here.
The surface web.
There we go. I'm not sure that there's anyone here who would like to field questions about the dark web. But let's see if there are any such questions or comments.
David has his virtual hand up.
Go, David.
I was just wondering, I mean, I've heard a lot about, VPN, virtual private networks, where they basically are also able to prevent you from, advertisers from tracking you and, preserving some privacy. Is that a subset of dark web, different than the dark web, overlapping with it? How does that relate? I'm not sure if anyone can talk to that.
David, I don't know a lot on this, but from the video that we just saw, it seems like there's a subset of the internet that you would not normally know how to even get to in the dark web, which I think is distinguishing it from you going to regular websites that you would do through a VPN.
Okay, so
and I think what it implied was that there are a lot of sites that will absolutely not let you on if you are identifiable. In other words, you have to be using something like Tor to get on to some of these anonymous websites. Will?
Yeah, they mentioned Tor is one of them. Now, is Tor a browser?
Yes, I think so.
I think it's
Okay,
technology.
they also mentioned Freenet, but there was still one more they mentioned and I didn't catch it. Does anybody recall what that was?
You have the link, you can watch the video.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Stan?
I hate to be or but why? If we're not involved in that kind of thing, does it pose a real threat to my security or anything like that? What is the impact on me?
I think the main thing is that it enables both criminals to do things like, selling guns or drugs. I mean, if there's guns or drugs in your neighborhood, some of those may have been facilitated through the dark web. And it also means that there's, dissidents in various places, whether you like them or dislike them, get to use that to spread information around. And so whether it's coordinating freedom marches or coordinating terrorist activity, it facilitates that as well.
Well, it also allows whistleblowers to be anonymous, I expect.
Yeah, and depending on whether you think the information should or shouldn't be released, that's a good or a bad thing.
I take it as the answer to my question is, no, I don't need to be aware of that.
So it's very much the same as on the normal internet. It all depends on what information you provide. So if you go on there and say, here's my email address and password, you've given up your information. Doesn't matter if it's on the dark web or if it's on the internet. Now, I believe most of the transactions that are done on the dark web are done with Bitcoins, which puts another layer between that website and you, as far as how that information, your information might get out.
But
If you don't.
right, if you don't need to go to the dark web or want to go to the dark web, you don't need to know anything about it. It's just that it is the phrase is bandied about so often that I thought it would be useful to have a short session on what it is.
One of the guys that I work with offers a service where if you want to put up there, say, a company's domain name, it will go look for email addresses that are trying to be sold with credentials and credit cards and everything else associated to that. So it can say whether or not this person's accounts have been compromised, and here are the accounts that have been compromised and the passwords. And we had done that for a while, a couple of years ago. But what we found out was that the information that was when we would have a hit was years old. So our take on that was to make sure that you update your password every 16 days, and every 90 days, every once a year. You just keep updating that information, because the sites that were coming up, the customer said, well, I haven't used that particular website for years. So that was one service. That's the only thing that I'm aware of that any of us in my computer group have used with the dark web.
Fran?
In answer to the VPN question, I think VPN is just one site. Like, I'm in Canada, I can choose a site in the US so that I can something that are only in US, whereas where they describe the dark web, it bounces around through so many servers that you can't track it back. I was experimenting for anonymity, and I know, so I went on the Tor, and it really slows you down going through all that. It's really slow. There's another web browser called Brave that is the same thing, and I just wondered if there was any legitimate uses for it.
Fran, how do
Anybody have
you
an
spell
idea?
spell the name of that website you talked? I heard phrase or something like that.
Brave, like being brave.
BRAVE. Thanks.
Yeah.
That's a browser. So that's an equivalent to saying Google Chrome or Firefox is what Brave is. And you can use that, and it blocks or allows you to go to different web pages. To me, the subject is quite often when somebody says, which browser should I use? And my comment always back is that there aren't any that I say don't use. I use 3 or 4 different ones every day, depending on what I want to do. And if I can't do it with Chrome, which is where my 90% of my work is done, then I will go use one of the other the browsers that work. But to say never use this one or always use that one, I have Tor. I have looked at Tor on there and didn't find anything that I needed to have. But I use Brave if I want to go to, say, the New York Times or LA Union Tribune. I can use that to go look at the Union Tribune, and it doesn't block me.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, just this last week, I was trying to reorder some coffee from Nespresso, and I was having trouble with my Chrome browser. I went over to the Edge one, and it worked fine on Edge for some reason. And I don't know whether it's because I have got some cookies it doesn't like on my Chrome browser, or whether it likes something about Edge. But sometimes, if you have trouble getting to a site, try a different browser and see if that one works.
A comment on Edge, and I use Edge, but again, most of the time I use Chrome. But Edge was written for Microsoft by Google. So that's why when you go up to the settings and all, you'll see that things look very similar. It's all Microsoft centric versus Google centric on the settings that are there, but there's not much difference between the two. But yes, if one doesn't work, try another one.
How about DuckDuckGo? Where does that fit in this?
That's a search engine.
Yes. So instead of saying Google for something, you're DuckDuckGoing something and using that search engine to find things. And DuckDuckGo tries to block your information from being harvested by the websites that you go to, they're being searching for. So in other words, it won't say, here's who's asking to find Amazon.com. DuckDuckGo will just say, here's Amazon.
And because it's a search engine, you can configure pretty much any browser to use DuckDuckGo or Bing or Google or whatever search engine you want.
Right. So if you go to DuckDuckGo, it brings up a page that's like Google.com when you go there, and it gives you a box that you can search in and find information that way. But again, you're not going to get the same, if you don't find the results that you're looking for with one search engine, then you might try another, because again, it may not be, they may not use all of the websites or search the websites. The way which Google works, and I'm pretty sure DuckDuckGo works, is they crawl through all of the browsers on a periodic basis and looking for words. And then they associate that word in a database and says, I find this word and this word and this word. And within 5 spaces, I can find, or whatever their terminology is, that they find those 2 words that you have put up there close to each other. Then they show you those results.
As I understand with DuckDuckGo, though, you don't get a lot of ads back based upon your searches.
But again, the websites may block DuckDuckGo from accessing their website to scroll through it. So you're not going to get search results for that particular website. So yes, you can use DuckDuckGo and use it. And if you say, I found what I'm looking for, great. If you don't, then you may need to try a different search engine or different terms that will help you find that. The one in Google, in Edge now is supposed to be GPT enhanced and the same as within Google, as they're supposed to start helping use different databases to find the words that you're looking for to give you hopefully better results for you.
And also just, talking to not being tracked for ads, there's lots of plugins you can add into various browsers to try to stop ads. You will find that many websites or some websites will say, you can't get here unless you turn off that ad blocker.
Yeah.
That's how they make their money, is by gathering information about you and then selling that information, because we don't pay to access most websites. So that those companies still need to have a way to generate revenue. Or should you be concerned about what information you're giving out? Of course. And do you want to limit that? Of course. But in the end of the day, if you say, I need to go to the New York Times website, it's going to be kind of hard if you don't give up some of your information.
Yeah.
Perhaps we could go to the people with their virtual hands up, because this is the seniors computer group and they may forget their question.
Well, that wasn't very funny.
I'm laughing.
It wasn't meant to be.
I'm laughing because it has to do with me.
Dan, you're up.
Okay, I was looking at the dark web just before I came into this meeting, just to see what it was all about, or get an idea of what it was all about. I used a Linux system called Tails, which uses Tor browser and also favors DuckDuckGo, although you can select other search engines. Using the Tor browser, and I searched for .onion circuits or .onion websites, which is one of the things that the dark web uses for a instead of .com, they use .onion. So I started digging around in there and found out that there are some levels in the dark web also that some of them you have to pay to get to, and some you have to solve some problems before you can get to, and stuff like that. I stayed away from most of the real dangerous stuff because I don't trust it as saying that the government can't see it. I don't believe that's true. So I would not go searching for child pornography or things like that that they had on there. But I did search for Bitcoin. There's lots of Bitcoin sites there. And I searched on credit cards. And credit cards, you can get a duplicate credit card from somebody else's account, I assume. I didn't dig into it, but there's lots of stuff out there. And depending on how deep you want to get and whether you trust the people you're dealing with is the next thing. So I would stay off of it, but that's what I discovered this morning.
Interesting. Pat? Oops. Hold on. Yeah, Pat. Pat H.
I just had a question because we did this earlier on this class that I'm taking. And so when you access Tor, are you getting into the deep web as well as the dark web, or how do you get into the deep web?
What's the difference between the deep and the dark? Anyone know?
Well, supposedly the deep web is where, you know, the banks keep their information and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's the dark side.
So Hank, I would say that the deep web are non-public websites that you need to know basically, you know, exactly how to get there. You won't find it on search engines and things because it won't get ever get cataloged. The dark web are those sites that are basically, you know, that in some ways, the deep web doesn't have to be a website. It could be a database. It could be anything like that. You know, the dark web is all these places that you basically you need special information in order to find, and that's what you would use a Tor browser or one of its search engines to help find those places. I'm not sure that answered your question, but yeah.
Well, so are you saying, so the deep web, we would never be able to get to because they're basically not public? Is that what the?
Well, yeah, the thing is, yeah, that you need to, you know, someone needs to tell you what you know, IP address and port number and all the other bits and pieces that go into making a connection in order for you to even know what tool to do it. And you may not use a browser. You may use some other protocol to get to that resource. It exists on the web because, you know, it'll receive connections and with the right credentials, it'll give you, you know, data back, but they don't publish that. And the only people that can get to that are the people that have been told the secrets and given the tools.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks.
One of the things that I discovered was I cannot get to the Zoom, to this Zoom meeting anyway, using the Tor browser and Tails operating system. It gives me an error message. So there's lots of things going on down there. Some you can find and some you can't find.
I would also expect that places like the deep web are not maintained very well, so they may be using older versions of protocols or not up to date on some of the new things because they don't care about staying up to date because they're not wanting to be found by everybody.
Well, one of the things is the origin of the request. And Tar uses foreign countries quite often for the origin. And like I can't get to my email on Tar either. And if I do get to it, then I get a message that says something strange going on in your email. So depending on which address they're using to fake out the computer you're talking to, that's what you get. And you don't know what you're going to get sometimes.
Well, yeah, and this is where I was thinking about the VPNs and things. With the VPNs, you can usually tell them where you want to appear to have come from. And in that case, if you want to get some of the BBC, TV shows have to look like you have a computer in the United Kingdom, and that's what a VPN can do. But if your email sends, somebody from the United Kingdom is trying to get to my account, that doesn't look, normal, and they may flag it for that reason.
Sal, would you look in the chat? I have just posted a link that says, what's the difference between the deep and, or I found on YouTube a video that says, what's the difference between the deep web and the dark web?
Yeah,
So
I see that. I was going to ask you what that was related to.
Yeah. How about running that?
Okay, just a moment.
A neighbor of mine lost the ability to get power out of his solar panels on his roof. And he thought the problem was in the inverter. So he went to YouTube and said, show me a video on how to fix my inverter. Good old YouTube came through and his power was back on.
A mysterious place where people buy drugs, hitmen, stolen electronics, download creepy games, and much, much more. Is the dark web this super scary, mysterious place people claim it to be? Is it worse? Is the dark web the deep web?
Today you will learn why everything you've heard about these terms is likely skewed, and why they are actually an extremely important part of the internet. Let's start with some definitions to get our discussion started. The deep web refers to any website or web page that isn't indexed by search engines. A simpler way to think about this is a web page you can't access by searching on Google, DuckDuckGo, Yahoo, or any other search engine. One of the most frequent types of sites that fall under this category, which most of you use several times a day, is logging into any type of personal account. Anytime you log into your social media accounts, bank, email, or anything else that requires a login which someone can't access by just having a link to, is the deep web. Some other common examples of the deep web are any journals or scientific studies that aren't available to the general public. So, hey there, are you logged into your YouTube account right now? Because if you are, you're using the deep web. As you can probably already tell, there are several misconceptions behind this spooky term, which we will cover more in depth very soon. But before that, let's cover another definition. The Tor network, or the Onion Router network, is a group of servers that improves your privacy and security on the internet. Normally without Tor, you directly connect to a website like techlore.tech. Tor will obscure this connection by adding nodes, and the nodes periodically change without disruption to you. So unless your entry point and exit point become associated, your connection is considered anonymous because of the difficulty required to backtrack in such a short span of time. So what is this technology used for? Well, it allows you to circumvent censorship in countries that block you from accessing websites. It allows journalists to post in repressive regimes, gives law enforcement the power to go undercover, gives the ability to leave truly anonymous tip lines, gives support for activists and whistleblowers, and obviously it can be used, like many of you in our community, to improve your privacy and security. Since Tor is such a powerful tool, it is used for criminal activities. But it's important to understand that there is an enormous amount of good that Tor does, and we can't let the bad side ruin its reputation. You can utilize Tor today by using free products like the Tor browser bundle. I have guides on how to set that up. Or for a better alternative, you can use an operating system built around Tor like Tails OS or Unix. I'll cover all of these in a future video, so make sure to subscribe to keep up with future content. But why does Tor matter for this video? The dark web is any website that requires a user to be utilizing the Tor network to access the site. Typically, sites with this requirement have the TLD or top-level domain of .onion instead of .com, .org, or other common TLDs. For example, normally you would access facebook.com. This has no requirement to access outside of having a working internet connection and no suspicious activity coming from your system. But Facebook does have an onion site found at this link, which will add the requirement of you utilizing the Tor network to circumvent censorship in countries who block facebook.com. There are other websites like ProPublica, DuckDuckGo, Sci-Hub Database, and Keybase that all have onion sites, meaning when you access these websites, you're technically on the dark web. First, people use these two terms interchangeably when they mean two entirely different things. Second, the deep web is utilized by almost every person on the internet. It ensures that your data belongs to you. It's a fundamental function of how the web works. Third, the dark web is not necessarily this evil place people commonly think of. There is a genuine use case for sites that require Tor. The dark web is a name popularized by governments and the media to make people associate it with this dark, mysterious place that's created for criminals.
Is your personal information already being traded on the dark web?
Find out with Experian. It only takes a few minutes and we start looking out for you right away. We use proprietary technology to scan hundreds of millions of transactions every second to see things like your information on the dark web, online payday lending, 401k and investment accounts.
I found this folder, it was hidden, and it automatically connects you to this thing.
Dude, this is dark web.
What's dark web?
Part of the internet where no one can track you. It's all about drugs, illegal IDs, even assassination for hire.
Yeah, the dark net is messy, not bad.
This is why, if you follow me on Reddit, I called for a rename of the dark web, because all the name does is pollute the public perception of Tor. Here's a simple new name that I created, the private web. I encourage you to start using this as the new name for any website that utilizes the .onion domain, since that is what it was created for, privacy. If you want to get more details on how to start using Tor and how to use it properly, that's equally important, to regain your privacy and security on the internet, make sure to watch the guides I currently have, and definitely make sure to keep up with Go Incognito, the course I'm putting together right now, teaching you everything you need to know about privacy, security, and anonymity online. Just like the shirt says. It is currently being rolled out and it's entirely free to view. I'll leave a link to it below. Remember, your privacy is important. There's a reason it's protected in both the US Constitution and the National Declaration of Human Rights. We must fight for it, and tools like Tor are an excellent way for us to accomplish this. That is all I have to say. Remember to join our community on our platforms and make sure to give this video
Thank you. That was very good. I think that clarified the difference.
Very, very good. Thank you, Hank. That was excellent. He was really easy to understand as well.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
So do I understand that deep web is anything that requires a password? Any site that requires a password?
Anything that's not findable, by a regular search engine. Yeah, so basically, you need to know where to go, and sometimes you go to the public website, and then you when you log in, and it goes to HTTPS and everything like that, then you're probably on, basically that, what he said is that he considers the deep web as anything that's not public, which is all the information that's in your account. And so if you need a password to get in there, it's not public, and he calls it part of the deep web.
Interesting.
So is the deep web where hackers go to get our bank accounts?
I think, well,
And ransomware and all that stuff?
I think it's
the dark web.
I think it's more like they will use whatever trick they can do to get the information. They'll then sell it on the dark web.
Interesting.
Okay.
And so if to summarize the difference he has between deep and dark means you're going through .onion domains, which require that you're using that system put together by Tor that bounces you through different servers to keep you anonymous. So dark means you're guaranteed anonymity. Deep means it's not public. And surface web is things that can be found by doing web searches, and that they're free to get. They're open to get to. You just type in the address and the web page pops up.
I don't know if everyone picked that up, but Tor stands for the onion router.
Interesting.
And if anyone wants to watch that last deep versus dark YouTube, it's in the chat. You can go to the chat right now and copy that link for further browsing later.
And that's publicly available, so it's not in either the deep or the dark. But actually, it's available only for this, so I guess it's maybe considered deep web in that public isn't invited into this session.
Dan, you have Tor already set up on your system. Do you just have do a search for Tor and download the program?
I believe that you can get Tor for Windows. If you search for Tor, you can download it for Windows. I use a Linux program called Tails, which has Tor as a default browser. But I don't know that I don't think you really need that to see. I use the Tor browser. I can't get on the Zoom with the Tails thing here, and I'll see if I can show you the another browser here, which is, I can't show it to you. I guess it won't come up, but I thought since I was talking, my picture would come up, but I guess it doesn't.
Well, your camera is on. You're just not in view.
The camera's on, but I don't see anything on it. And I was trying to show the picture of the search engine, which is for Onion.
Hold it
Your
higher.
camera
Onion search engine.
Hold it
Your
higher.
camera is pointed up, Dan, so it's kind of showing your ceiling. And occasionally we can see something there. There you go.
Okay, now I see it.
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, so that's yet another search engine. which searches the engine circuits, or you can use it on the standard network or images and video. Has some various and assorted things you can do with it, but one of the things it'll search the onion network, which is domain names which end in .onion. So, like I say, for some reason or other, I cannot make the Tails system connect to Zoom. Kept giving me errors. So,
Willie, your hand's up.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask David, you said that this Zoom site is not public?
Well, this Zoom session.
So,
Basically, we needed a password to get into this Zoom session, right?
I
No,
didn't think so.
Yes, there was a password encoded in the link that Hank sent out.
Right, but the link is still available on their website, on the SCG website.
yeah, I don't think it's private in the sense of what you were alluding to.
I'm looking at it from my point of view from marketing. I don't want to be giving people the Zoom link if they can't get to it. So
Yeah, I meant David. I think David was implying that it's a private information and people don't have access to it.
Yeah, you can't find this session by Googling it on the internet. It's not, what's the right word? Basically,
It's not publicly posted, I think.
yeah. Although it being on our public website, it's getting close to being publicly posted.
I don't know if it's on our website.
All of Google sites are they have such long URLs, none of them are going to be searchable necessarily. But once you get there, once you have the link, it is accessible to anybody. I'm assuming that.
And it is on our website.
Right. That's what I thought. Okay.
Good point, Willie.
As you can see by my little profile picture there, I have a URL. I have a QR code that goes to our SCG website. So if you
Nicely done, Willie.
if you can actually use that picture and scan it from right from my profile.
Nice.
But it's a little small for doing it in a thumbnail view. And I don't know if I pointed out before, but that image is actually generated by DALL-E, which is an AI generated image.
What was the name of that again, Willie?
The AI software?
DALL-E, I think you meant.
DALL-E. It's by the OpenAI group that does Chat GPT. Same group.
Okay.
It's a takeoff on Salvador Dali,
right?
It's spelled
Yeah.
differently.
And that DALL-E, is that a program you download?
It's a website that you go
It's
to.
a website, DALL-E.com?
Well, I'm not sure what
Okay.
it's openai.com is the primary website. If you go to openai.com, you can get to Chat GPT and DALL-E and whatever other experimental things they're working on.
Since that's not part of the deep web, I think Will could just search for it.
Yeah, seems like.
Okay, Willie, you done? Pat.
I've got a question that goes back to Dan, and maybe I missed it, but what was the Tails or Trails and the Hunix? Are they websites or what exactly were they and what did they do? I think I missed that part.
Tails is an operating system. It's based on Linux.
Yep, how about
I
the
didn't get
Hunix?
the, what was the rest of your question?
Who was Hunix or something of that sort, you said?
Unix.
Unix. Well, was it Unix? I thought it said Unix.
Well, Unix is a operating system that works on large computers. Linux kind of emulates Unix. But it was written to run on a PC, so the college kids could use a system and without tying up a big computer.
Yeah, Pat, I would say that both of those things are flavors of the Unix operating system that you can install instead of Windows or beside Windows or instead of your Mac OS.
Yeah, we won't be doing that. Thank you.
I just tried the link. I just tried the link in the SCG website, and it won't connect on that tail system either. So, just for information.
Ross, you're up.
So the recommendation here was from a couple of people, they wanted to maybe download the Tor browser. When you were downloading anything, you need to something that has malware based in it. I did Google for my internet is unstable. Okay, it says my
Yeah, you're breaking up.
People have Ross.
internet is unstable, but now I think if you can hear me.
No, can't hear everything.
No, you're cutting out, I think, Ross.
Oh,
And freezing too.
okay, let me try again. But here and close it. Closing a couple things, see if that helps. Exit.
Seems to be a little better.
Okay. So careful where you download things from. If you use the Google search engine, they're very good.
Still breaking up.
Showing you the official.
You're still breaking up, Ross.
You might try turning off your video camera to the Zoom session and see if we could at least hear you clearly.
Okay, video camera's turned off.
Coming through good.
Okay. So again, you need to be careful on where you download things from. And specifically, you should use probably something like Google to search because it ranks and shows you the official sites to download things from. And Tor browser is available from the Google Play Store. So that would be a good place to get the Tor browser. But be careful on when you go out there and say, I want to find this thing that helps me on the dark web. You don't want to be tricked into something that's bad. That's it.
Thank you, Ross. Sharon?
Yeah, hi. I have a different question. I wanted to download, I was considering downloading PDF Expert. PDF Expert will help me work with PDFs, of course, that's where it is. But the issue is the home base is in the Ukraine. So I'm concerned about Russia and the Ukraine downloading an app and it's in the App Store for Apple. So any feelings about locations for apps?
I would ask first, what do you want to use it for? Because I think that's a more fundamental question as to whether you even need it.
It's I constantly work with a lot of PDFs and I want to remove images. I want to change the fonts. I want to shorten them. I want to add a page to them, delete stuff, edit. That's my purpose with PDF.
Okay, so obviously, if you want to be effectively doing the equivalent of owning the expensive Acrobat program, but not paying that and having a PDF editor, I guess the question would be, is there alternatives to that? depending on how deep into it you want to get. You're a Mac user?
Yes.
And so the preview program that comes bundled with the Mac operating system can do a lot with PDFs. It can let you.
It doesn't do everything.
Okay. So you want more,
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so then you're looking for something that will give you that extra capability at an affordable cost.
Correct.
Thank you.
With an OCR reader.
Okay.
And I'm worried because the company is based in the Ukraine. And I can get an educational price, which cuts the product in half.
If you're doing this for private use, then yeah, you might try one of the other programs that will let you do those things. If you're doing it professionally, then you really need to have Adobe. But if you're getting it from the Apple Store, then in general, I would trust that they vetted that information and the service and are constantly checking to make sure that it is a good program. The other thing that you can do is you can Google for that. For the Mac, alternative PDF editing programs, and see what it comes up with for that program, if it shows that program or others that you might find.
Okay. Thank you.
You're suggesting she might look for reviews on it, Ross?
Yes.
Well, it depends on who the reviews are done by. If they're done by the company, that you can't trust that.
Well,
you want independent reviewers, users.
More than one review you should look at.
True.
And make sure that the dates are relatively current within a year or two. If it's 5 years ago, then it really doesn't make any difference. That's too old. You need to have a new version of a program. Now, a lot of the PDF programs that are free will put a watermark onto the final document. So you have to be careful and look for that to see if it does that.
This is not a free one. And my only concern is because it's based in the Ukraine.
Well, again, if you're getting it from Apple, then I would assume that Apple is taking care of that for you. And if you have a concern about that, then look for another one that's not based out of Ukraine.
Stanley? You're muted, Stan.
Sorry. I just want to mention that the QR code that Willie put up as his background worked. And I think that's a good example of how to take advantage of that QR code if you want to share websites or links to further information. I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you.
How are you able to capture that QR code? It looked like it was so tiny I could hardly see it.
What I did was pin his image to my primary screen, which brought it as big as it could be. And then I held my phone up to it and it went ping and captured the QR code and linked to the SCG website.
Okay, thanks.
And just to clarify that for others, if they're curious, when you're in a Zoom session and you're looking at a gallery view on a computing device like this, you can hover over and there'll be a little menu that you can drop down in the upper right corner. And one of those choices is pin, and then it makes that one tile fill up the screen like speaker view does.
Oh, okay.
And I just
one of the options is what?
Pin. P-I-N.
Pin.
That just works for the one person doing it. It doesn't affect anybody else in the meeting.
How do you enlarge it once you hit the pin?
The pin will enlarge it on its own. It's like when you're in gallery view, you can go up to the upper right corner. There should be a view menu. There's a drop down there. You can go to speaker view, and then you'll only look at me while I'm speaking and whoever else is speaking after me, and you won't see the gallery view. That's the distinction.
Where is the pin?
So hover over somebody's tile other than your own, Hank. And
Yeah.
you should be able to see, in my case, it's in the upper right corner. There should be 3 little dots or something like that. And it's a
Yeah.
drop down menu. And on that menu, there should be a choice to pin.
There we go. There is.
When I do that, Sol, my image on my screen is only about 3 or 4 inches by 3 or 4 inches. Is that big enough for the QR code?
I don't know. And I don't know what's constraining it unless it's the size of your screen or something else going on in your, I don't know what you have in terms of the Zoom window. The Zoom window might not be maximized.
If I may, I have to admit that I have a 32-inch monitor that brought that image up to fill that 32-inch monitor. So the QR code was adequate in order to picture it. If I had a much smaller monitor, it would have been too small also. So,
Yeah, I've got a, yeah, I have
Thank
a
you for that
24
clarification.
I have a 24-inch monitor, and I was able to replicate what Stan did by bringing that up and then having my phone look at the screen.
I think mine's big enough. I've gone through the PIN process, and now I'm looking for a QR code reader on my. Where is my QR code reader? Come on, QR code reader.
On your phone.
Yeah, on my phone. That's where I'm looking. I can't just use my camera, can I, without pulling up
Not
the.
when you're in Zoom.
Not when you're using their camera for Zoom. It's occupied.
No,
I think he meant his camera on his smartphone.
Oh, depends what the phone is. Maybe some cameras have a built-in QR reader. Some other ones need a separate app.
I think mine was that I added to my phone, and I put it in a group of programs called shopping. Or I put it anyway. It's easily available on my phone.
Yeah, it worked on mine too. So if it worked on mine, and believe me, it'll work on anybody's.
Yes,
I
but
have an
Mac,
iPod- I have an
I'm
iPod
sorry,
Touch that works.
excuse me a minute, Pat, you have an
Yeah.
iPhone. All iPhones have it built into the camera app. But Hank has an Android and it isn't always built in. And that's why Stan said he had to add an app to his Android phone.
Well,
Yeah.
actually, I used the app. The camera didn't seem like it worked. So I went to my QR reader thingy and that worked. The other one, it seemed like it was too blurry. But when I went to the QR reader, it worked fine.
My QR reader worked even though the screen whole image was only 3 or 4 inches by 3 or 4 inches. My QR reader did pick it up.
I was sure that I have a QR reader on here somewhere, but I can't find it at the moment.
Willie?
I'm glad for this discussion because that was the whole reason why I put that as my profile picture, because I go to a lot of classes, we do a lot of Zooms, and this is what I leave up. So I'm hoping that people will see that and go, what does that mean on your little fake computer on there? And we learn all these things in classes, and this is perfect because it's getting people interested in what the technology is, and it gets them to our website. So
Yeah,
perfect.
well,
Thank you.
be sure to tell them to pin it though.
Right.
Good job,
I
Willie.
was waiting for discussions. The semester just started and I just started using this. So I'm waiting for people to say, what does that mean? This is the first group that's actually pursued anything to do with I tested this out to make sure it worked. I also have a couple of custom QR codes that have our logo in the background, and in the center where that little dinosaur is, I changed that to the SCG logo in the center. So I was playing around with different versions. At some point you disturb the QR code and it doesn't work, but
generally, good job, Willie.
Thank you.
Here we are, QR scanner for Android.
Yeah, and Willie, I was going to say, this crowd tends to be a little bit more curious than some of your people, but if these are computer classes that you're attending, I think that would be a great little way of adding something to that class.
Yeah, I bring it up about every class.
And I think the analytics for the SCG's website just went up tremendously in Google search optimization engine.
I was going to ask
Everybody
you
in this
about
meeting
that.
going to that QR code.
Yeah, does somebody actually monitor that metric?
I would think so.
Here we
Well, I
go,
mean, Hank, or
George.
whoever looks at the metrics, whoever owns that.
That would be Hank if he chooses to do so.
Right.
Sorry, Hank has not been paying attention. He was QR coding, which worked. I found my QR reader, and I am now looking at the Seniors Computer Group website on my smartphone.
There you go. No, what I was going to ask you at some other point was that do you follow the metric of how many people visit the site and for how long maybe, because I want to see if this is effective in the long term.
About how many people visit the website?
The SCG SD.
No, I don't know how to do that.
Okay.
And Willie, in response to that, because I work with other groups, some people are really into analytics and looking at all that stuff, including emails they send out through MailChimp to see how many people opened the email, how many people clicked on that link, how many people clicked on that link. If these are emails in that example of just a meeting reminder, a monthly meeting reminder, my analytic is simply this: how many people came to the meeting? And maybe that's Hank's analytic for this session too. How many people show up? Not how many people went to the website. How many people show up in the meeting?
Yeah, I don't keep track of it. I can't go back and look and see how many were there last week, but I always look at what it says down at the bottom where participants, which is right now 22. And
I didn't,
and it's over 20.
I didn't mean to suggest you track that. I'm saying that I don't care about analytics on websites or emails in MailChimp and stuff like that. The ultimate one is how many butts are in the seat when it comes down to it.
Yep.
Or how many brains are engaged when you're talking.
Another better way to say that.
I don't know how to measure that. Engaged brain before opening mouth.
Always a good strategy.
I track my YouTube videos, all 100 and some odd of them now and then, or my YouTube channel. I look at that rather regularly because if it gets high enough, I get paid.
What is high? How many?
I've got a long way to go. I think I need 100,000 subscribers, and I have about 1,000.
Okay. Because I get to hear sometimes creators say, "Oh, I've got 10,000 viewers now. Yay!"
Okay, let's see. Where are we? Zoom meeting.
Will?
Yeah, I wanted to bring up a latest phone scam that I just got. Maybe you've got it too, but it has to do with rebates for your energy system. But they are asking for a credit card to put the rebate back onto. And obviously, with a nice Indian accent, you know it's a big scam. So just wanted to warn people about that.
By the way, Theo Joe has put up a new scams to look out for in 2023. I think wave your hand if you'd like to see that at a future.
Oh.
On one of those rare weeks where we have a slow set, then that'd be great, right?
Well, I'm having trouble getting more than 1 week ahead on things to schedule. So
I was pulling your chain. I'm sorry.
That's funny. It's usually attached to my left ear, and it didn't hurt. Okay, Will Wakely.
Yeah, I've got another problem. My wife's computer, when I turn it on, it says Microsoft has deleted your PIN number to sign on for security reasons. So click here to get a new PIN number. Unfortunately, the only things they tell you, you can put down a code to your cell phone, which she doesn't have one, or you can sign into your Outlook account, which she doesn't remember the password for. And so I'm fighting to find a way to get into the computer to put a new PIN number into it. I think I have a way. It's an HP computer, so I think I have a HP website I can go to, but it's very frustrating if you don't have the right passwords, and she refuses to write down a password. She always says, "Oh, I can remember that one." Famous last words.
I'm going to schedule a Saturday session that Ross just volunteered to do, which is how to log your passwords somewhere where you are not going to forget them or lose them or whatever.
So
Okay.
Will, I don't think that HP is going to help you because this is a Microsoft issue, not an HP issue.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, Microsoft didn't tell me ahead of time they were going to stop that particular pin and require a new one. If they had done that a day ahead of time, I could have handled it. And the other problem is that the only phone number she has logged is a landline, so that doesn't work for getting a code. And then trying to get in to change that phone number, you have to have a password to get into that. So it's a catch-22 is the problem. I've been fighting with Microsoft about it and unsuccessfully.
So they are trying to help everybody stay safer. So if they allow you to reset that password without using the conditions that she set up, then they're violating their conditions. So you'll need to go back through and make sure that you have a recovery email address, it's your current phone number, you have the password that you have. You need to have that all out of the computer because there's nothing to say that that computer is going to work tomorrow. And if you say my only copy of things is in my computer, then you're kind of in trouble. There are ways to go in and reset the password for user accounts through safe mode. And that was one of the things that I was going to talk about, that you can get into safe mode. And then once you're in safe mode, you can go in and say, I want to reset the password for this account. Now, depending on whether or not she had, say, not Bitdefender, bit encryption that Microsoft provides. If you go in and change the password on one of those accounts, all the information is deleted because they don't know who and why that password is being changed.
Well, this password is the PIN number that you turn your computer on with, and that's the hard one to get to. So I may have to give you a call, Ross, and come over and get some professional help.
Again, that's all through Microsoft that you have to do that through.
Well, they have been unable to make it happen, so I've got a big problem.
Because she doesn't have any of the recovery options.
Correct.
That they use to set up. And I've worked with people all the time when we go back in and now say we need to get access to an email address. And I said, well, I've moved and I don't have that Roadrunner or Cox email anymore. But that's what you use to set up the account. Then you're in trouble. That account is locked.
Ross, this sounds like a pretty interesting thing for a talk sometime. We could have it, what is safe mode and what's it good for?
So I proposed that to Hank, and I believe he's going to set that up in the near future where I can say, this is how you get into safe mode, and here are the things that you can do. Now, it can be very complicated and kind of dangerous, the things that you have capability of doing. But if you're between the rock and the hard place, and say, now, the ultimate thing to do is to just reinstall Windows and restore from backup.
That's what I need to do.
Ross will be on next week.
Excellent.
Dan?
I just had the same problem with the Hewlett Packard computer, someone in-house. And what I ended up doing was reinstalling everything and assigning a new PIN number. So that's what it amounted to.
So Microsoft is trying to force you to sign in with a Microsoft account, which means they're the ones that can help you, if necessary, reset that password. My question from most of the customers is, do you really need to have a password on that computer for if it's in your house? And I think the answer is no. And I can show you how to go in and set that to a local account, something that's not controlled by Microsoft. There's a couple little tricks to do that, but that's what you need to do. And if someone's got a new computer this week that they need to set up, please call me because I can say, do it this way instead of that way.
I thought it forced, I thought it forced me to put in a PIN when I bought the computer.
Okay, so again, Will, if you're setting a computer up, you're more than welcome to contact me, email or phone call and say, how do I get in and not have to use a Microsoft account? And I can give you a couple steps that you do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this is it. Well, actually, I have a question. Every time I have a question and then somebody talks and I have another question. But with Ross, I thought if you've got your computer in your house, you would still need it because there's other people in your house. And also, somebody could break in and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I just thought that out. But my real question really wasn't a question, was a comment. We were at the last class we were in, we were talking about the New York Times, and I did Dan's thing about, removing the cookies, and you got back in, and then somebody else popped up that, and I haven't tried this, but you can get a subscription to the New York Times through the San Diego Public Library, the e-library. I haven't tried it, but they did say it was free. FYI.
So you want us to do the work for you?
No, I don't want the New York Times. I got a pile of San Diego Union Tribunes. Why do I want that?
Well, I meant you presented it, so I thought you meant you had already tested it. Sorry.
Oh, no. I'm just passing along to Dan because he was the one that was going through the cookie routine. So I figured that might be easier than the cookie routine.
San Diego Union just sent me a big discount flyer that you can sign up for, like 50% off on everything.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on the browser you use, I was able to click on settings and get the cookies and search for New York Times and then delete all those cookies and then go back and go to the New York Times. But some browsers don't let you do that, others do.
Well, you might want to try, going through the website of the San Diego Public Library. If you've got a library card, you have to have a library card, of course. And then you just look on their website, and under magazines, apparently, newspapers, there's a place to subscribe. I haven't tried it, but that's what they said.
Sounds good.
I never said we shifted from the subject today to Q&A, but we obviously have. So if there's anybody's been holding some question, speak up or put your hand up.
Or it's time for lunch.
It might be. I would just make a comment that this kind of has come full circle with dark web and all that stuff. It's a matter of privacy and how much you want to share. You can have an account with the New York Times, but you're logged in and they know you're logged in, okay, when you're accessing that. So it's a question you have to ask yourself of how you want to do that, or if you want to go in anonymously and be limited by one article like Dan was talking about, type of thing with cookies. So your choice.
I think they let you have 5 articles, but I'm not certain.
Yeah, I'm just saying as a generic thing on various websites, they may be limited to 5, 3, 1, whatever it is.
there's also the effect that sometimes when you can, you can get those 5 free articles, but they have a bunch of ads. If you actually get a subscription, you may see fewer ads because they're getting money from you directly. They don't have to pay for the ads.
And when we were talking about different search engines, Google is in business to harvest everything it can possibly get. So when you are using Google as your search engine, they are hoovering up, as the British would say, everything they can. Is the distinction between a different web browser or search engine, like DuckDuckGo or Start Page or various other ones. They do not track you. And so there's no tracking when you're using their search engines. But with Google, they are.
All right. It's 10:01 in Hawaii. And that's about it for today. Anybody want to stay on here?
Yeah, well, just one quick question I have. Anybody use GPT?
I have. I did a little bit for a puff piece for a walkabout, and I found it surprisingly easy and very fast.
I haven't tried it yet. I would like to.
I'm going to try something next week and take my smiling face and palm tree off when we start by clicking the video thing and see if I get bumped off less. That was very interesting to see what fixed Ross's audio problem this week. So
worth a try.
If I don't do that, somebody next week remind me, and I'll like see if I get bumped.
Yeah, I always have that problem, so that's why I'm usually off the video.
Yeah. Well, Hank, when you get bumped, you'll get reminded. Consider that a reminder.
You're right.
Pat, I see Pat 1, 2, 3.
Oh, no, I'm just up here with the Mac and with the iPhone. I'm not Patricia. No, thank you, but I'm
Okay,
not.
there's a Pat's iPhone 7 and a
Oh,
Pat
yeah,
Mac.
Yeah, well, that's my iPhone because usually I'm doing other things besides watching you all.
Okay.
And laundry and things like that.
And Patricia, I'm sorry, we don't know you, or do we? Oh, there you go. You're separate, Patricia from Pat. Patricia, could we have your last name and we'll put you on the list?
She's on mute.
I think Patricia prefers privacy.
Okay.
And so
no problem with that.
I think your request is denied. Stan?
Yeah, I would just like to thank everybody for being here today. And I would like to extend the time on. I'd like to chat with Willie. And if anybody else wants to hang on for a little bit, but I have a non-SCG topic I want to discuss with Willie, if you don't mind.
Okay, I'm leaving, and I'm leaving Saul as the host.
Okay.
And too late. He's gone. I was just going to say I'll send him the video later, but I will.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
bye, folks. See you next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
I saw.
Hi, Willie.